So, welcome everyone to the Talking Stox Zoom debate. This is the BriSCA F1 top 10 tracks of all time, and joining me, as with part one, is Ian Higgins and Colin Casserley, and this is part two. So we'll be doing our list from 5 down to 1, and we'll start with Colin to do his 5th best track of all time down to his best track of all time.
Okay,
number 5.
Starting off at number 5. Track we might have had in the first part, but this one is Baarlo.
Right.
Again, we've discussed many of the reasons. It was more than just the meeting; it was the whole weekend. The fact it was so different than any other racing we've seen over here, and so to go there, it was just such a culture difference than what we've seen before. The speeds were fantastic. The sound of the cars was fantastic. And when it happened big time. And the crowds were just huge. I mean, it took you about an hour to walk from the grandstand there, or the banking, into the pits. Everything was just packed. It was just an atmosphere about the place that just made it something special. For us Brits, going over there, going to see once a year was probably made it a bit more special for us. To the Dutch guys, going there month in, month out, it kind of lost its appeal a little bit to them, and the car counts went down, and that's why they built the so-called short track, which was still about 600 meters, but they didn't get the car numbers that they were used to, and so for them the appeal probably went down. I know people still hold Baarlo in a high regard, but I think in Holland it was possibly had its time. And so with Venray coming on now, when you look at the car counts to get a Venray and the spectators there, that's kind of a bit more akin to what stock car racing in this country is like, and more to what a lot of the fans in Holland were looking for. But Baarlo was still just something special, and the experience of the stock cars going that fast. I mean, I think they clocked them over 100 and some miles an hour at one stage. It's just
crazy.
Yeah, crazy. They weren't designed to go that fast. They shouldn't do.
No, absolutely. No, it's utterly bonkers. I mean, you can see how close to the look at this picture. You can see how close the spectators are to the track. Is my goodness me, no catch fencing.
No.
Everything's quite calm. It's almost quite normal.
All the trees used to suck the leaves off the trees.
Yeah. I've seen some video of that, and you can see the wind blowing the trees like it's like we're in a storm because of all the. It's just the vortices from the cars going past.
What was it like going around there for the first time, Ian? What did you?
It's like, what am I doing here? To be honest, the first time we went, we just wanted to. Everybody went on about it, and well, the first time I went was actually I went with Peter Falding. And it was just an amazing experience, the fact he won it made it even better.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, but the first time I actually raced there, I couldn't get what the buzz was that Peter saw about it. The car was shaking to bits, my seatbelts were flapping and smacking me in the face. I could hardly breathe. I had a helmet on, and I just lifted the visor a bit, and it nearly ripped my head off. And the thing was, I was just in my normal car that we used on both surfaces over here, and Bimmel and that had just come past me like I was stood still. So the first time racing there, I didn't enjoy the racing, but we had to go and race. I think I raced there 10 years on the trot after that, purely for the party. It wasn't until I built a car specifically for Baarlo that it clicked with me what Peter got out of it. I tried all sorts. I built one that we did real lightweight. We put a load of aerodynamics under it, and went out in practice and lifted the front wheels off the floor. Just stupid stuff. But it, like Colin said, in a way, it was about the whole thing. I raced a short track, that wasn't appealing at all. It was a bit of fun because when you got to the literally 90-degree turn, you could just send them off either on the grass, or they used to go all the way around the long track and back. I think it lost its appeal, because they were racing a lot, but I think just it killed your engines. You know, Lundy will admit that it cost him a world final at Odsal because he cooked his engine at Baarlo, sort of thing.
Right?
And you know, I think that was all part of it as well. You know, so but like Colin said, just what an atmosphere! What an atmosphere!
I say when you had accidents, they were big ones as well.
Well, I had a big one there, a real big one. There's a video of that online somewhere. Me folding and Pete Kaiser. I ended up in hospital.
Did you?
Broken shoulder blade and all sorts. Pete Kaiser sort of bottled it a little bit and tagged me under braking, and just I went in flat out. Our Paul had a real big one there, going down the back straight. Came to lift off to go on the brakes. The brake pedal fell off, and so he decided, instead of just trying to get it round, he decided to go across the grass and just slid into the Armco flat out, flattened the Armco. I was stood watching thinking, God, he's going to be hurt. He gets out, nothing wrong with him, boots the car, breaks 2 toes.
The irony, unbelievable.
Just brilliant. You missed something there. I'm always going to torment you about it, Neil. Now
I know. I feel tormented. I do, because I just look back at some of the stuff that gone on then, the stories, the parties, the whole event was a blast from start to finish. And you can see this bit, as you were talking about the trees in the background, you can see them blowing in the background here. It's like driving through a storm, you know.
I mean, we loved Holland. I raced Ghent as well. Me folding and there was me folding Elwell, Andy Webb, I think it was, went out. That was weird because it was like a D shape, but again, it was all about the party.
Of course, that's what it's all about. It's just I think that's why the Dutch, in a way, the revolt roles are reversed, and now they come over here because they want to get the same buzz that we got going over there. So maybe that's
I think there is a bit of that. The grass is always greener, but in Holland they do. Their meetings are slightly different than ours. You go back to the old days when we used to race at, say, Leicester. Everyone used to go into the bar afterwards. In Holland, they get there early. They have their breakfast there. And after the meeting, they stay there for an hour, having a bit of a party, something to eat. Whereas over here now, we've lost a little bit of that social side.
We have a lot of it.
We chase a huge amount. We chase to the meetings and we chase back again.
Something I think the only way that does change is with the speed weekends, or
drink driving laws have made a big difference, haven't they? Obviously, it is basically now double-headed speed weekends, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and hopefully that's where the Northampton World Final weekend will be special, because it's at one venue, and it should be, really. He wants it to, and and people can camp over. There'll be parties. There'll be all sorts of stuff going on for 2 or 3 nights, and that's exactly what a World Final weekend should be.
An occasion.
Absolutely. Not just queuing up to try and get home at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not really it, is it, really? But so that's an interesting and I say massive regrets not ever getting there, and I'll just keep watching this loop over and over again for the rest of my life, probably, regretting. So number 4.
In the week, I'll send you the one of me crashing there, Neil.
Right, I'll have a look at that. I'll see that, definitely. I like to see that. Okay, number 4.
Number 4, one extreme to the other. Still keeping on tarmac, but I've gone to Aycliffe.
We've gone back to Aycliffe. Excellent.
You got the
can't keep away.
No, you got the super smooth, super fast Baarlo, and then you got the narrow, bumpy, unpredictable Aycliffe. Both equally as entertaining. But I did, personally speaking, I used to like racing at Aycliffe. Maybe because I was a crappy old white top and it was more of a leveler for me. I don't know. But I enjoyed enjoyed racing there, going down the back straight, the axe bumping down the straight, and the back axle banging on the chassis, going into
Happy
the corner,
days.
going into the corner, put your foot on the brake and hit a bump, miss it, and hit Brian Wharton as hard as you've ever had it hit anybody in your life. And then trying to apologise to Martin, saying, "This is what happened." He's going,
Yeah. My foot slipped off the pedal.
But it genuinely did. But it was tarmac, but it was
it was different tarmac to any other tarmac track, I should imagine. I mean, tight corners.
It was very narrow as well, so car spun and you had nowhere to go.
Narrow track. It was
Potholes
unique,
everywhere.
really.
Potholes everywhere. Bits of tarmac flying up and hitting you in the window mesh and stuff like that. But again, unique. And there was drivers there that you never saw race anywhere else.
Yeah. The real northeast drivers.
There was some guys who used to keep their cars there and they'd never race anywhere else.
Chopper Rudd.
Chopper Rudd. Yeah, absolutely. Some well-known names from the past. Yeah, and there's lots of stories, from further back in the 60s, when Stuart and Doug used to go there as teenagers and sort of wind up the local drivers. They used to do that quite a bit, almost got run out of the place a few times. But they, it's a memorable track. Like I say, through all the ages, really. I mean, it's just I just, again, as I said before, just a regret not ever getting there, which is a real shame, because you always think, like, with everything, you always think, I'll get there one day, or one day I'll get to Aycliffe, or one day I'll get to Baarlo, and of course you never make it. So it's a bit of a shame. That is one of you, Colin, there looking for this. Been tipped over with Mr. Sturck. Looks like you had a bit of hanging on for dear life there, but look at it.
I was hanging on for dear life. I was actually hoping I'd get rolled over. I thought, I'm going to roll over at Aycliffe. Brilliant.
It didn't happen, though.
But it didn't happen.
Major disappointment.
Disappointed. But,
gutted for you, mate.
It did put a hole in the sump there, and we're racing at Sheffield the next day. We went to Woody Harrison's to fix it on the Monday.
Brilliant.
Race at Sheffield.
Every cloud.
But that was a good fun weekend. The mechanics and everybody, we used to like racing there. We stop at Boroughbridge on the way back, and we had a good weekend.
Excellent.
From listening to you, Colin, I think you needed better sump guards on your car somehow.
It didn't have one on that one. It had a tiny little bit of sump guard. It was rubbish. I blame Darky Wright for that. He built the car.
Well, two stories you've told us about losing the sump.
But we did. Darky built it. Of course, Darky from South London, racing on these super smooth tracks down the south. Didn't need sump guards.
No, exactly. So that's number 4. What's number 3? Number 3 in your all-time list.
Number 3, going probably off the beaten track here. I'm going for Wimbledon.
Off-piste.
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. Yeah, it's funny. I wonder why I didn't put that in my list. I'm surprised I didn't. Wimbledon, absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic track. A lot of action there.
Yeah.
What a stadium, facility-wise. People moan about tracks with the facilities, but this had everything. When that's the back, what I call the back stretch, to become the front stretch in later years. On the other side of the track, when that was fully opened, and the kind of stadium legislation which cut a lot of the capacity down, but that place was rammed, and the atmosphere inside was fantastic. I'm going to go a little bit political here. BriSCA could have been racing there in the 70s. Had it not been for some egos going on. When Skota first raced there, that could have been a BriSCA meeting. I went to Skota meetings at Wimbledon. I remember. But the first world final they had there was just unbelievable. Klaus had brought all the narco pace cars over, and they were parading around. There was about 15, 20 Dutch guys who'd come over we'd never seen before. There was coaches and coaches of Dutch fans, and the racing was just probably the best Skota meeting ever. And then you go back to this when BriSCA went there. Frankie got put through the fence that first time?
Yeah. That was
And-
where who put him in the fence? It was
Forsyth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
And if you're in the
came down
if
from
you-
Scotland for it.
yeah, if you're in the grandstand, you'd heard the roar.
Yeah, I was there that day. I was there that night.
It's just
Yeah.
atmosphere fantastic.
That's the thing. They snapped a fence post like a twig.
Yeah.
I mean, that car went right through it, didn't it? I mean, unbelievable that was that night.
And then
Went through like a catapult.
Frankie again was involved in another incident with Rob Speak.
Smithy.
Yeah.
Speaky, yeah.
Speaky,
Yeah, which we mentioned before on the big
Yeah,
hits. Yeah, when Speaky put him in, which I should have put the video up again for that, but unfortunately,
when Speaky come out for that national again, the atmosphere in the stadium was electric.
Yeah. But again, brilliant, absolutely. And the noise of the cars come up down through the tunnel from the pits into the track's always mega. The thing is, it's part of my upbringing, Wimbledon. I used to go to, obviously, in my informative years, go to Wimbledon virtually every meeting, but it wasn't for Formula Ones. We had National Hot Rods and Super Stocks, and I saw Derek Warwick win the World Super Stock Championship there, Biffo Sweeney, and all these old names, and saw Barry Lee first race in a hot rod round there. It was a white top, and I remember him winning the British from the front as a white top, and George Polly came through from the back and nearly caught him. And that was just a mega night. And they used to have these fantastic carnival nights, and they used to have real celebrities turn up at the meetings with.
Well, you go back to
Dick Emery and John Pertwee and all sorts of people used to be at their meetings.
And Queen had everybody riding naked on bicycles.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly.
Going back to the celebrities that first go to World Final, Status Quo presented.
Yeah, we saw that. I've seen the picture, isn't there, of you see Rick Parfitt in particular. He's on Pat Driscoll's car, wasn't he?
Pat Driscoll,
he won it. Yeah.
Again, the last meeting I had there, it was a little bit disappointing. It wasn't better supported for one reason or the other.
Which is again, taken from.
I'm not going to go into why it wasn't. It should have been. It was the last meeting. Should have had a ton of cars. Everybody should have tried to get there. Same as the Wembley meeting. They should have made a spectacle of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many cars was there. 15 or so.
Less
cars.
than that. I think it was about 11.
But they put on a bloody good show, though, didn't they?
They really did. What a great night. That was one of the best meetings of the year that year. Just one of the most memorable, particularly because everybody thought that Mick Sawyer was going to fly around and win, and he ended up being put right through the fence. Unbelievable, wasn't it? It was pretty much. I remember who put him in.
Yeah, it was one of the Jones boys. Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Was it Todd Jones?
Yeah, it was. Todd Jones put him in. Yeah.
Again, it was a sold-out crowd, and the roar you could hear everywhere.
Yeah, I know. Because it was wet by then, wasn't it? Because it came quite a wet track by then, but it didn't matter. The racing was great. The event was special because it was the last one. It was rammed. It was only allowed in that back straight. Weren't fans anywhere else? But yeah, it was fantastic. The fence, it needed upgrading considerably, didn't it? Really, because I think the cars were getting quite fast, and it didn't take much to rip those fence posts out of the ground. By the end, I know obviously they weren't going to develop the track anymore because it had been under threat from closure and redevelopment and whatnot. But I suppose that didn't help particularly. But yeah, I mean, and I've raced around there in a Rebel too. First time I raced a Rebel was the same meeting as you did, Ian. I think actually got placed in the final that night, which was I was made up with. But yeah, amazing. Yeah, so I found my. You were in the back.
They won 4 out of 4 in the Rebels was Wimbledon.
Really? Was that right? Yeah. I don't think you did the night, because the night I raced was like February or somewhere. It was quite a winter.
It was right at the end of the season, after the meeting after I got banned. After I came back from a meeting.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then I went out and won all 4, which was
fantastic,
brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed racing around there, I must admit. But yes, so brilliant track. So yeah, that's your and like before we got cut off, people who are watching this will probably see that we've changed places where we had a bit of a computer glitch before the end of our discussion on Wimbledon. But as Colin had said or was about to say, that last Wimbledon meeting was, it was a phenomenal event, and who was the guy who won the final that night?
Paul Ford.
Paul Ford, yeah, came all the way down from Scotland and won the final, which was fair play to him, and then retired immediately after, I think.
Yeah,
So that was that.
Yeah.
He left on a high as far as he was concerned. So yeah, so that was your number 3. So it leaves you with your
2.
second best track.
Second best is the Bradford tarmac BAMI era.
Right.
The non-stop stock car racing. It was just some of the best stock car racing I've ever seen, and it could have easily been my number 1 track, because for the action it provided for those 3 or 4 years whilst it was tarmac, second to none. I think everybody wanted to race for BAMI, so you had the guys, as you can see, they're the superstars with their fast cars. I mean, the track was quick. But you also had the guys who had been racing at Nelson in their shale shed specials, who unfortunately become cannon fodder. And there was cars up the wall, cars rolling over, cars going over the beams. And to cap it all, the meeting was bang, 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 non-stop, like it said. It was just one race finished, the next race started. The first heat was always lined up on the track after scrutineering. 10 minutes before the meeting, drivers got in the car, so you started bang on time. The crowds were fantastic.
I was about to say that. Look at that crowd.
There was just about, I mean, it just brought people in because of the action. Again, over the years, you either retired from racing or didn't go there if your car wasn't up to it, or you bought a car that was better equipped for the style of racing. If people didn't go there for this, if they can imagine, and they've been to Cowdenbeath, if they can imagine that with about 25, 30 cars on the track at Cowdenbeath, that's the sort of thing you had at Bradford. And there were just cars in the wall, cars rolling over. It's just brutal. And I said, it's just some of the best stock car racing I've seen. And it was on a Friday night as well.
I was just going to say that. You look at that crowd, and that was a Friday night. Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it? Isn't that incredible? It's unbelievable. You can't comprehend that now, can you? To think, because that would have been, I'm trying to think when this picture was taken.
Probably about 78, something like that.
78,
79.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable crowd. And
the queues outside to get in were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived in Bradford, and even we left early to get there.
Yeah, really. Is that right? Yeah. So I didn't get to Bradford for the tarmac year. I got shortly after when it turned back to shell, but I still enjoyed it.
It's still a great venue. It's still a great track, and now I'm watching it this year during the year, and I think the speed they're getting, and again a bit like some of the we're talking about Baarlo, where things happen quickly. The speed they're going around Bradford with the bank turns and that, it's just it's some great racing and a lot of action still. But this tarmac era was just
special,
out of this world, to be honest.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to do that now, would they? I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, it'd be great if we make it tarmac again," but it'd be too
I don't think so.
Wouldn't it?
It
would be way too fast now with all those tarmac specials. Can you imagine it? I mean, it would just be, it would be something that.
Yeah, that's the thing you had in the old days. You did have a lot of cannon fodder, if you like, cars which didn't handle, which slowed down some of the quicker cars. Nowadays, virtually every car handles, so all the cars are going quicker. So, but that was just, I never missed a meeting there on a Friday night.
No. And, what about you, Insane?
Oh, I just loved it. From spectating as a kid to racing there. The first 2 meetings there, I rolled it. No surprises.
No, I suppose not.
Yeah.
But you still loved it.
Oh, yeah. But I was that proverbial fence fodder. What I do remember is I'd raced at Aycliffe in a Wayman hire car the year before, just a couple of times. Then we bought the McDade car in the winter. First time out at Hodsall, goes round, ended up rolling it, but no great shakes. Goes round racing, goes to Blackburn the next day, and just I couldn't get around the corners, just kept sticking it in the fence, and I couldn't understand why, and I was despondent, and pulls the car off, and typical old man Frank walks across, looks at it and goes, "It has got a brake pedal, you know." I went, "You what?" He went, "Your discs, they're all rusted up." He said, "You've never touched the brakes." And at Odsall the night before, because I weren't going fast, I never touched the brakes. Never thought the next day that I might need them. And just, you know, just stupid stuff like that. But, yeah, rolled it. Yeah, rolled it 2 meetings on the trot. There's actually, I've got some pictures of my car, and it's got the arrows on it. It says "this way up," and it says "okay, car, you win."
Oh, brilliant line. That was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah,
fantastic.
Well, as a southerner, I want to know, where on the M1 does it stop becoming Bradford and becomes Odsall?
Yeah.
Anybody north,
right
anybody north of the Watford Gap calls it Odsall. Anybody from down south, it's Bradford.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
That's what it is. You see, that area is Odsall top.
Odsall top. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm only for everybody. I'm only joking on that one.
I won't think anybody will worry me. Don't worry. So that's Bradford for you. So that's your number 2 track, the tarmac version of Bradford. Which leaves, what is your number 1 track of all time?
One is maybe predictable, but it's Coventry. It wasn't going to be in a top 10 at all for my racing exploits there, because I absolutely hated the place for racing. Hit the fence quite hard a few times, got a bit of a double vision a few times, so it hasn't got my best memories for me.
No.
But as far as racing goes, in the early days when I used to go there, it's where the north and the south met in the Midlands. You got a good mix of drivers. It was run by Ochiltree like a military operation. If you didn't come out in program order, you didn't get a booking the next meeting. If your car wasn't clean and painted neatly, you didn't get a book in the next meeting. If you hit the fence and delayed the meeting, you didn't get a book in the next meeting.
Which did happen to you, to Alan a few times, didn't it?
Happened to him. Yeah, I mean, he's stuck in the fence, and Charles walked past and never give this man another booking, and he didn't get another booking. But so for that side of it, you saw always got a few northern drivers you hadn't seen very often. Southern drivers from London come up to it because it was quite easy to get to. The stadium was easily accessible from every part of the country.
Yeah.
And in the latter years, the racing was still good there, but what we were saying earlier on, it became more of a social event. It's where everybody went. Being on the first Saturday of the month, you knew it was Coventry. Everybody went to it. Meet your friends, have a chat, go in the bar and look at the grandstand there, go in the bar, and it became more of a social thing rather than just the racing. And I think for that reason, that's why it's my number 1 track, because it was a hub of the sport. And it would be great to get it back. If it does come back, who knows? It'd be a hell of a lot of work to get it back if it does. And you just got to hope that those people who used to go to Coventry only, and maybe went to another track once or twice a year,
I think they will come back
to the sport, because
I think they would.
It was the glue that held the sport together at the time, and
definitely.
I think it's sadly missing on that aspect of it.
It is. Yeah, I agree with everything you said on that. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, you know, it's a love-hate relationship with Coventry for me. As a kid, I loved watching there. We didn't go that often because obviously we were all up north, so it was just didn't go that often down there. To race at, didn't particularly like the track, struggled with it. The way that they ran it, like Colin said, it took me a year to get a booking. And old man Wayman had to sort of plead with Charles to give me a booking because I'd bought the Wayman car, had a new one built, and I was on for chasing Red Top because they started the season before the first Coventry, and I was chasing Red Top, and I'd applied all the previous year for a booking, never got one, and then eventually Frank managed to persuade Charlie to give me a booking, and I won the consolation. And when at the end of the meeting you used to go around to his office to collect your start money, and prize money. And I walked in, gave him my name and my number, and there was a little piece of paper. And I went, "Oh, what's that?" He went, "It's your booking for the next meeting." I went, "Oh, I can come back." He went, "Winners are always welcome here, Mr. Higgins."
Oh, well, fantastic line. How fantastic is that?
So yeah, but you know, it like Colin said, it's the backbone of the sport really for so long. You know, she was getting a tired old girl at the end, but you know, you can't blame people for not investing when it's not secure, can you?
No, exactly. No, well, it's one of the great tracks of all time, there's no doubt. It is, like you say, the glue that kept the sport together. It's not just now, we're into the 7th year of it not being run, and what makes it so sad at the moment is the fact that it's this decaying sort of memory, because it's still there. It's not like Stoke or the old Bellevue, or the more recent Bellevue, or many other tracks that have just been flattened and destroyed and never seen again. The old place is still there, and you can, and the way it's been mistreated in the meantime is just appalling to see. But going back to when in its heyday, I mean, the first time I went was 74 World Final when Chizzy beat Stewart, and I was just, I found it spellbinding, the place. I loved it. I used to like it a lot more in the old, before they changed because they changed the track, didn't they? Shortened it. I liked it before that, because you used to have a grass centre green. It literally did have a centre green, and I always thought it looked prettier as a venue. I think all venues look prettier with grass in the middle, and it's like Kings Lynn doesn't. That's all, you know. And when it's a shower track, the same with Northampton as well. When it gets all dusty and muddy, it's not a pretty sight, really. It's just it becomes a functional sort of track rather than it hasn't got any aesthetics that Coventry certainly had back then, and it looked much nicer. And I just think if it does ever come back, which I strongly hope it does, I will just request from whoever buys it and redevelops it that they put some grass in the middle. But I think that it's a worthy number one, Colin. So yeah, thank you, mate, for that. So right, we'll go on to Ian, and he's 5th down to number 1. What's your number 5?
Right, my 5th was one that's already been mentioned, and that's Crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Crew. I think you're going to enjoy what I'm going to. I think you're going to enjoy what I'm going to put up in a sec. Right. Go on, carry on.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was just such close racing, fast racing. But you look at us there, bumping, bouncing, cars everywhere. Somebody nipping up the half on the infield.
Docking.
Yeah. But it although you had your quick guys, I felt that as a lower grader, if you got away, you had half a chance. So I think that played a big part in it. It was rough, it was horrible, but it just had something about it. And the speed, as I mentioned earlier, Wharton, Bezzy, they were phenomenal. And obviously for me, thanks to Jane Bean and Richard Pratt, I won a semi-final there. So
yeah, absolutely, it did. And I was there that day, mate. I remember it. It's one of the great races of that year. It was fantastic. Yeah,
it was funny because it was at the start of the Hoosier era, and we'd been running Hoosiers on the car, and going to this meeting. We ran them on the front outside, well, the 2 fronts and the back inside. Going into this meeting, everybody were convinced that the curbs, it was too bumpy, and so there was actually only myself, I think Bez, I'm not sure if Bez did, but Rodney Faulding that ran Hoosiers. The rest of them didn't. And on the first lap, I actually half spun. But in the second half of the race, the car just came to me. Unbelievable. And it was down to the tyres, the Hoosiers. And Rodney, I think he was first reserve, and he ended up getting about 6th or something. But, I mean, you watch that car there; it's just bouncing and lolloping.
Yeah.
All of them.
This is 85, I think, because I think Stuart Smith is in this at this meeting as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
85 would it have been? Somewhere around then.
86, I think.
86, maybe 86. Yeah, there's Harry Smith
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting
And-
to watch it. I've watched this a few times, and Bert is trying every which way to. He can't even
Look at
get
him
his
bouncing.
bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's bouncing, and he can't even get his bumper onto Harry. And
No.
they're going flat chat, these two. Can't go any faster. And he's,
Yeah, look at him go.
he's you know, and
Yeah.
but he never touches him. He never gets to put the bumper in at all because you're
And-
just flat out all the time around here. These two were certainly.
Yeah,
You know.
and like you said, the crowds were so close and everything. No, just a great track. You know, a lot. When Jim Barry was promoting there, I can't remember what year it was. It'll have been about, I don't know, maybe 85, 86, somewhere around there. There was a bit of a drought, and we turned up at the meeting, and they told us all when we were booking in, make sure you wear goggles or keep your visor down. And we're like, well, why? He said, well, we've got no water, so we're mixing red diesel and sewage.
Oh.
Yeah,
What a mix.
so,
Inflammable mix.
Oh
Oh my goodness.
Red diesel
me.
and sewage to keep the dust down.
Bloody hell.
So
Oh,
yeah,
never
just,
didn't like it.
yeah, just brilliant place. Yeah.
Great. Well, on that, what's your right? Number 4. What will be on number 4?
We've just done it. Coventry.
Have you? Coventry. So we're back to Cov.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll
As I say, I have a love-hate thing with it. It's got to be in everybody's top 5, basically, I suppose.
Yeah, of course it has.
I actually enjoyed racing my Rebel there more than I did an F1. And again, you know, what you said, 100%. I think when they put the solid infield in, it killed it. It took so much away from the place, I felt.
I did feel that as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I used to remember, you know, when I was younger, going into turn 1 where the number of times pit gate opened when people got put into it. You know, I remember John Kaiser coming through it, and you know, but to me, when you walked up into that grandstand and you looked down, and it was, you know, it's post and wire back then, and it had that green infield. It was phenomenal.
It was always immaculate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, and not taking any away, you know, I don't want to be saying anything disrespectful to Jeremy and Sandu, but the Ochiltrees, they're a different breed to the rest of the promoters.
Yeah, they were. I mean, Martin, I've got to know very well. Really top bloke he was, lovely man.
I saw him a couple of weeks ago at Des Chandler's funeral.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, I don't know. When the Armco went up and the middle got changed, to me, it changed Coventry. So that's why it's that's why it's down my list a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying there. I can sort of I'll take your point. Yeah, you know, but yeah, I mean, some of the racing. I mean, there's that in the latest configuration, that final sort of 1 June meeting when Speaky got absolutely pulverised into the fence. What a final that was. I think Paul Harrison might have won it, I think.
When Boogie had his wobbly, wasn't it?
That's it. Yeah. Absolutely. And then we had the 99 World Final when Frank, Andy Smith and Lundy all piled in and Murray won. That was one of the great races. What did Sam the Fury? That was based around that. You were? I know you were. And that first book was based around that race, really. That's why I did that one in the first place, I think. But yeah, I just, you know, I've got some very, very fond memories of Coventry, but I'll probably speak about them a bit later. Right. Yeah, probably. But yeah, everybody's got them in the top 5. You know, there's no surprise, really. So that's number 4. What's your number 3 then, mate?
It is Skegness. Yeah. I've always liked Skeggy. You know, we used to go and race there on the Thursday nights and whatever. Always got on with H. I know a lot of people didn't get on with H, but I always got on with Hazel. I enjoyed it when she had it. The only time I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it was when it was shale.
Yeah, I didn't like it at Shell when it Shell changed the place completely, didn't it? It didn't work.
Yeah. To be honest, it would have probably been number 5 in my list, but with what Rob's put in there of late,
Exactly.
that's what's
Sublime.
elevated it up, basically. You know, you can't fault it. The atmosphere there, you know, the speed weekend, you know, even for us when we go there and do double heads, we do it for the past 12 years. We've done a Skeggy treble. It's a Thursday, Sunday, Monday, bank holiday, August, and it's just fantastic. And Rob, you know, Rob's just brilliant with it. What he's doing, you know, all the effort he puts in, that is what's moved it up in my my thing.
Yeah. Taking it to another level completely. He has unbelievable what he's doing there, because he's his track and he can invest in it, and he is doing exactly that, and it's reaping the rewards, quite rightly so. Yeah.
The place is getting packed out, not just for the speed weekends, but they do a hell of a job for the holidaymakers as well.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Give Paul Brown a bit of credit as well. He's doing a good job there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, good man. He's nutter. He is. He comes down for. He's down there, you know, all year, and he goes back home for the winter. It's almost like he goes into hibernation in the winter and then goes back down here. Yeah, it's extraordinary when he does.
It's just, we race there a lot with domestic formulas, basically. And, you know, the truth is that the people that are there, and it is rammed, you know, it knocks the spots off any F1 meeting, apart from maybe the speed weekend. But crowd-wise, it knocks the spots off any F1 meeting. But the minute the monster truck or the stunt show or whatever has done its second round, it empties. And you've still got 4 races left to go or whatever. You know, and you know, don't get me wrong, he's doing a brilliant job, but he's in a fortunate place with his catchment area.
Location, as they say.
Yeah, but then again, he's investing. He has that taxi that drives round, that 4x4 that drives round, the screen that drives round.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's just brilliant. Did you ever race there, Colin?
I did. I raced there when it first opened, when it was a hell of a lot different than it is now. If I remember right, they had to water the track. You know, it was tarmac. They had to water it because it was so dusty.
Right.
And it was a lot tighter. I mean, the straights have been widened out a little bit now. It's a very tight track, a bit of a dust bowl. I never really done very good there at all. The only thing I really done there was put Stuart Smith in the fence. But
really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to say, did you sump?
Yes.
No, I probably did.
Probably.
I didn't do it intentionally. I've got a tank slapper coming off the corner. And,
here we go again. Yeah, bounced off the curb.
I hit the fence head on halfway down the straight.
Excuses.
They're all the same one as well.
I got them all. Yeah. It's the way you can do it. If you can put people in slidey without looking like it's intentional, you get away with it.
Yeah. But something to remember.
A tank slapper, and I hit the fence head on. Looked up on the bank, and there's people waving, cheering. I thought, what the bloody hell's that? I looked to the side of me, it's a yellow bumper. I thought, oh shit, that's Stuart Smith. I couldn't get my car started. He reversed out and carried on. And every lap he come past, he hit the back bumper of my car with his Nerf bike. Bing, bing, every bloody lap.
Really, just to remind you.
Yeah, he didn't get me back because he knew I was a crappy old white top and didn't do it on purpose. But that's about the claim to fame at Skegness. But it's changed a hell of a lot. Yeah, it has changed a hell of a lot, and it is. Say, look at the crowds they get for it. Fantastic. That's what we want. All tracks. We want. We want big crowds and the atmosphere. It just makes the meetings better for the fans, the drivers, for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Doing a good job there.
The year that I built the Holland Special, we went to Baarlo, and then literally we were straight back, and there was a big Skeggy meeting, and they decided that we didn't have to run silencers because we wouldn't have had time to get back from Holland to put silencers on and everything to race at Skeggy. So they said to us, we can run this meeting without silencers. So we'd come back from Holland, and I built this lightweight special that was absolutely awesome in Holland. And we come to Skeggy, and I got Andy Webb to go out in practice. He was helping us, was Andy. I said, can you go out and just tell me what you think to it? You know, see what we can do to improve it. So Andy goes out and does it. And we've got a special carburettor on it, not a Holly. We had what they call a Dominator on it. So anyway, comes back after practice. Andy's there. Goes around to see how he's getting on. He's getting out and he's got sweat running down his face. And I said to him, bloody hell, Andy, it's not that hard to drive, is it? He went, Ian. He said, that's fear. he said, how you're going to drive that round here? He said, the throttle is like a switch. It's on or off. Oh, I'll be right. So he goes out for one about 4 laps in, coming out of turn 4. I hit the gas. I sort of come out. He's like, bop, 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 hit the gas, and it just went straight onto a fence post. And honestly, the front axle, everything were trashed. And it was at the time that we had the fancy American calipers and everything. Yeah. And my mechanic's there coming off, and he's got all this. He's got like front calipers, braided hose pipes. He's walking off with it, and somebody went, "Bloody hell!" He goes, "What you got there?" He goes, "About $2.5 grand." And so yeah, we changed the carburettor after that. But yeah, it was one of my fond memories of Skeggy. Yeah,
brilliant. So I forgot where we are now. That's number 3.
Number 2.
Number 2. What's number 2?
Number 2, and we've all had it in our top 10, is Baarlo.
Oh, there we go. Back to Baarlo.
Yeah.
Got to be, isn't it? This is Baarlo before you won't have been there for this. This is Baarlo before it was tarmac. This is shale Baarlo.
Yeah. Well, a story with that, which Colin will tell you, because obviously it was shale, wasn't it? So
yeah.
That all the English drivers were going out there. Nobody had told Bobby Burns that they'd tarmacked it, and he turned up there with all his shale tyres. But everything you've all said, you know, at the end of the day, just a phenomenal place. And I was so close to winning a race there. I got second in the end to Kroonder. I had air in my brakes, and if you actually watch the video, we did 18 laps instead of 16. But there you go. That's how it was out there.
Yeah, that did happen a fair few times actually in long track finals, where I think one that I think Stuart and Dave Miller were in the running to win. And what's his name? The bloke, was it Mick? I can never pronounce his name. Is it Mick Hewson or who won the thing? And I think they had less laps than were anticipated, and so I think Stuart and Dave, in particular Dave, I think was catching, and he's adamant, having spoken to him, that he thought that he said the Duchy was given the checker flag 2 laps too early. It was apparently, but these things happen. But it happens in all sport probably. But it was but it doesn't matter. It was still great place, great fun.
Like I said earlier, I never understood what people got about the racing, because it was just fast racing, you know, you weren't particularly hitting or whatever. But the year I built that car, and I started the long track 3/4 way down, and when I retired, I basically what happened was I pushed John Lund into the corner, and he threw the fan bell and started spraying water onto the back wheel, and it got loose, so the temperature gauge, so I pulled off. But I'd come from like 3/4 down. John ended up second to Kroonder, and you know, I was trying to push John out of the way because he was under my feet. The car was phenomenal, and that's when I realised the buzz that Peter got out of it, because up until then I never understood it.
No, the car had to be on the money there, didn't it? If the car wasn't on the money, it wasn't much fun.
No, that's it. Definitely, Colin. Yeah. So.
So what's your number 1 then? Number 1, I think I know what your number 1 is, but let's see what you say.
It is, for Colin, it's Bradford. For the rest of us, it's Odsal. Yeah. And particularly, like you said, Colin, the Bamford era. I remember coming home from school on a Friday, Mither and my mum and dad, come on, we've got to get to Odsal, get our fish and chip supper before we went in and queued. We'd go and stand in the queue, me and my mum, and my dad would nip to the chippy on the corner and come across with the fish and chips. And, we had our same spot going into turns 2 that we were always stood round. And it was the same group of people round you every meeting. Yeah. And you'd be looking up because you couldn't get in the pits. You'd be looking up and seeing whose transporters were driving down.
Yeah.
And, it was
just excitement.
Oh, yeah, as a kid. And then to actually race there myself was phenomenal. Then when Bammy then tarmacked it, and I was fortunate enough to win heat and final there, won the consolation at the world final. So loved it. And then obviously a couple of years ago, got involved with Steve.
With its resurrection.
Purely and simply because of my love for Odsal. And so that's why it's my #1 track. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good track.
Yeah.
Can't
say more than that. That is fantastic. Yeah. Again, one of those regrets that didn't get to go there for tarmac, but at least went there many times. So so that's your excellent 5 down to 1. I shall do my 5 down to 1, and it won't be any surprise that 1 or 2 of these we've already mentioned, but my number 5 is Skegness. It could be higher. I was tempted to put this higher, to be honest, but it will. If we did this in about another year's time or 2 years' time, it could even be in the top 3. But it's just, I don't know why I've got it at 5. I still regret that in a way. But it's just not so much in the old days. I wasn't that fussed about the Skegness when I first went there. I thought it was okay. It was nice. But some interesting racing. We had the semi-final when Kev Smith put Lundy and Bez in the fence, and Nigel Wharton and whatever, and we had a few other interesting races. But it's more, and the world final that Lee Fairhurst won, one of the most amazing races I've ever seen. That was a mega night. That was. But it's really since Rob's taken over the place and what he's done with it, and this sign. What a stroke of genius that sign has been as a marketing tool to promote that track. It's just well, it's supposed to put a smile on your face, and it does. It's just an amazing thing to have, and it's got publicity that you could only dream of on BBC, ITV, all the national newspapers. It's become a tourist attraction. People want selfies of the place. It just the sign. It's just been amazing, and it's drawn a crowd to a track that's produces fantastic action. Look at this. A bit of a pile up. You get a lot of pile ups. If you get 30 cars on track, around Skegness, they're all going to go in one way or another, and it's just fantastic. The place is just beautifully run, fantastically supported by the tarmac, the drivers who race tarmac. They get 50, 60 cars there. I mean, it's just unheard of on tarmac. Back in the 80s and 90s, never got anything like that. Apart from maybe Northampton with their 100-car meetings back in the 70s, you might remember those. But it's just a fantastic place, and you've got Richard Cletter as well, way he does things on the centre green. He's a great compere out there, and he does a brilliant job. And the whole place is I just love the place, just brilliant.
It's a sport as it should be. It's like a show, isn't it? Entertainment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what Rob says. It's you've got to put on a show. You're there to entertain.
That's it, exactly. And he does it, and the drivers do their bit, and everybody does their bit, and it's just a fabulous place. Really, just wish it was a bit nearer to where I live, so I could go a lot more often than I do. But I still go as much as I can, which isn't as much, but it's just fantastic. Yeah, so that's my number 5. My number 4, even though it's not in its tarmac form, because I only really been there since it's become shell, but I'll put another tarmac picture up, is Bradford. Just love Bradford. Ever since I first went there I didn't go there until about 88. And I've seen some great racing there. Great World Finals. I think one of the World Finals that never gets mentioned much, but I always thought was one of the best was when Bert won. I thought Bert's World Final was a belter. It was him, Bez, and Lundy. They had a brilliant race that night. It was fantastic. And yeah, they just, and I'm just delighted. It's fantastic that Steve Reese managed to get the place back. I mean, that was that is his legacy, really, getting Bradford back on the map for stock cars. I mean, no one could have ever dreamed that was going to happen after it closed back in 97. But he got it back. There were one or two things. Oh no, sorry, I don't want to put that up. Sorry. Yeah. What was that? I did that deliberately. Oh,
I actually enjoyed them.
They were good.
No. Please,
the
no.
is,
Never.
In the right environment, they are.
Yes,
brilliant.
I know. Yeah,
but also,
in a confined space, in a small venue, but not in a massive great stadium.
No,
with these little silver things tapping away in the distance. On here.
They should have been walking around the crowd. They should have been walking around the crowd.
Should have been the top. Yeah, absolutely. That would have been fine. That would have been fine. But it just didn't work. And there was this weird chap with a smoke gun that I don't know what that was about. I don't know why it didn't work. Wherever the smoke went, it never went anywhere near them. There wasn't any point to it. It was just all a bit mental. But it made me laugh in a way, which is not really what it's supposed to do. But it's still a brilliant facility. And Graham and Russell are doing a great job. And they're going to make that place. They're going to keep improving it. And
the racing is good. I mean, the shootout when that battle between Lee and Tom, the crowd were going crazy. It's one of those tracks that can generate good racing and a good atmosphere. I agree.
And I mean, the hits, it's fast as well, because I remember talking about Tom. I think it was in the British, and there was that incident right near the beginning. Excuse me. Where I think he went to try and take one of the Tesla guys out, and I can't remember. Chris Broxott, I think, got in the way, and he was just about to launch into him, and I think Chris Broxott bounced off a tire or something, and he moved out of the way just when Tom was about to go in, and I think he put was it old Tesla he put in it massively. What a big hit that was. But it was not what he intended, I don't think. That was the thing. But you go in big when you go in at Bradford, that's for sure. But some spellbinding racing, and when they're really on it, when it's not, when the tracks, it's had its issues, obviously, with a few bumps here and there, but they're doing their best to iron all those out.
Yeah, but isn't that what stock car racing's about?
Yeah,
not everything's perfect.
No, I think
we're trying to get the perfect tracks, the perfect this, perfect. That's not what stock car racing's been about or is about. If there's a little bump, deal with it.
No, exactly. I think the problem as well is the fact the tyres we use now. If they use
absolutely,
the old, you don't need the big fat, American races. You want. It doesn't work on a bumpy surface.
You've got no side bite.
No, exactly. You need something that's not going to pop, because you want a bit of grip. If you're on in rallying, if you're on I've been to the Swedish rally on the snow. They don't have big fat tyres. They have small narrow tyres because they want to cut through the track, and that's what you want. And so obviously there's always a danger they might cut the track up even more. But you're using the wrong tyre really around there. But in time that will smooth that track out like Kings Lynn as well, probably. But it's still stupendous place. Love it.
It's always going to be susceptible to the weather.
It is.
Same as Northampton. They all say, "Oh, it's the shale. It's the shale." It's not all about the shale. Yes, you've got to get a mix right of clay and shale. If you have too much clay in it, then it does become like ice. But you need the clay to bind the shale, etc. There's like a magic art to it, to be honest. But the tyres have no side grip. The minute it's wet, those tyres are a waste of space. And you look at it, where they originate from in America and that. If it's wet, they don't race.
Exactly, they don't race on the exactly right. Well, that's my I lost my thread. Number 4. Number 3 is one that was mentioned quite a while ago now, which is, and I'll get this picture up. If it'll go up. Come on, Nelson is my number 3 track of all time. I only went there once, but it was one of the highlights of my of my stock car watching career, because it was always a dream to go to Nelson because of all the stories I've read about the place, because I came from the south, reading Stock Car magazine, all this phenomenal racing with Doug Cronshaw and Gordon Smith and Stuart Smith and Mike Close and Len Wolfenton, and they're all doing this, that and the other, and so, excited, the crowd are going mad, and I wanted a piece of that, and I managed to get there for one meeting, and it was the basis of Heavy Metal book I wrote. Really was based around the fact that it's about memories of a bygone era, and that was just a sensational meeting I went to as well, because Derek Cullen won the final, having his tank had caught fire, car caught fire in his heat, came out and finished second in the Constellation and won the final. But it was the racing behind him with Cronshaw and Smithy and Mike Close, and Brian Wallace was involved, and John Hiddeman, and they were knocking 7 bells out of each other, and Cronny and Smithy tangled yards away from the line, and Doug went over the line backwards, and Smithy was classified. They thought he was going to be classified as finishing in second, and he was classified 7th or something. It was just another one of those great nights, and it was one that I'll never ever forget. And it's this sort of picture as well that epitomises the true grit of, if you like, of northern stock car racing of that period, and the blood and guts of it all, and no shale on the track at all. And so there's a picture I've got somewhere. It's ridiculous. I mean, this one here. I mean, no shale at all. Where's it all gone? But it didn't matter. It was a rough, tough place, and people just flocked there, and it was just magnificent.
Yeah, so as before, I enjoyed it. I obviously raced there twice, and the first time I raced there, I just remembered I actually got into the Driver of the Year semi-final.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It was brilliant because I went out in Heat 1 and got tangled up and got in the middle for most of the race. I come off and they said, "A bit short of cars. Do you want to go out in the Driver of the Year semi-final?" Yeah, okay, I'll go out in that.
I'll go in that. Why not? Yeah.
So I was going lining up and looked in the mirror, and I got Doug Cronshaw and a few others behind me. I thought, in the first turn, I'll get around this one. Second turn, I'm out of here.
What a fantastic experience.
Let them all go.
Where did you finish? Or did you finish?
I don't think I finished. I don't
Put
think
a hole in the sump.
Yeah.
Or he put Doug in the fence. I bounced off that. The foot slipped. Yeah, that's what happened. Probably more than likely. Yeah, exactly.
I'll never get out of here if I put Cronshaw in the fence.
No, I don't think you would.
But again, look at the crowds they had used to get there.
I know.
Because people used to flock to it.
I know. And Doug Cronshaw was sublime round there. He could ride the bumps. He did that, and on most tracks he was an expert at riding the bumps, like he did at White City when it was a show track, and probably never a bumpier track at White City when it was show. Well, no. He was just incredible. Yeah, so that's Nelson was my number 3. And then number 2, it was going to be a toss-up between these two, but my number 2 it's following the picture. Sorry, I'll get to it in a minute. I can't find it now. Where are we? Let's see where we're at. Well, it's Bellevue anyway. The old Hyde Road Bellevue was it just was for me. I nearly had this as number 1 actually. Again, for the same reasons as for Nelson, it was reading about Bellevue in the magazines and the stories about the place, and it was just an epic venue. Undercover, the sound, the speed, the drama of these world finals. I didn't go to this one, but I went to the 75 world final when Dave Chisholm won, and nearly didn't get in. Got locked out. I didn't have a ticket, and there were so many people trying to get in. They shut the gate just as I was about to go through, and luckily the people I was with managed to get a ticket off of someone who hadn't managed to go, and they gave me the ticket, and I managed to get in, and I got a grandstand I was right by the start finish line. So I was only about 15 at the time. I could have cried when I thought I wasn't going to got all that way and couldn't get into the world final.
But the noise of the place, we standing that in, it just echoed round, didn't it?
Yeah. The first time I went there was Boxing Day '74. We'd driven up from Surrey to get me and my mate who drove us up there, and it was just I don't know how long it took us, because no M25 then. It took us forever to get there, but but it was memorable. It was again a brilliant meeting. What I saw, I saw Gordon Smith in his prime in '74. He won the Heaton Grand National, would have won the final, but a flat tyre. Stuart won the final that day. It was just, and it's just, I used to go when I was at college. I used to drive up, I ride my bike up to Bellevue. I used to go regularly. I just loved going there. And the last time I went was for Lundy's World Final, his first one, which was another great night as well. So yeah, so that's my number 2 of all time, and my number 1, I suppose, is no surprise what this is going to be. Before I go to it, I was just going to show you that picture I was going to show you earlier on, which we never got to see, with the balmy Baarlo car. There it is.
Oh.
Cracker. Sorry, before we get to number 1, got to show that. Look at that.
That's a good
what
one.
A magnificent piece. Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, it's got your. You remember when you did the world final at Hendersford? I see he's getting tired. He's yawning there. Remember you went round on the parade lap with the foam hands, but they've got those in the back of this. They've got those. What's going on there? It's weird. Anyway, so it's a strange car. But anyway, that's a sidetrack to what I was actually going to do, but I forgot to show that earlier on. So yeah, my number 1 of all time has got to be Coventry. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm not afraid at all. It's well worthy of its of that honour, if you like. It's it's just for all the reasons we've already said, and also because of what's going on at the moment. I mean, I've recently spoken to Councillor Tony Gillies, who's been unbelievable with the work he's doing behind the scenes to try and save this venue from being destroyed. And they're fighting a worthy battle at the moment. And the way they're going about it, I think, is there's light for the first time in 7 years. There's light at the end of the tunnel here. It's going to be a slow road to get us to the point where it rises from the ashes, becomes like a phoenix to become a stock car venue again. I mean, I think if it does come back, it will come back as a sporting facility, not just for motorsport, but for other sports as well. Because I think it will be used for the community, and it's very much the thing with Coventry is a community venue. People, like you say, will go there for the first Saturday of every month to go to see the stock cars. They made friendships from going to the meetings. They sit in the same places every month. It was the place that everybody wanted to go to, and the same with the Speedway guys as well. It's something that we've got to do our best to try and get back if we can. If it does, I mean, it's going to be a long haul. Like I said, it's a long road to get it to, because it needs to be rebuilt. Let's face it, the whole place needs completely rebuilding. But if there's a will, there's a way, I say, and so let's hope that one day that happens.
Yeah. It's just sad that we haven't been able to race there in the intervening years.
Oh no, it's crazy. I don't understand why that's not the case. I mean, and that would have, and if they had done that, we wouldn't have had the situation where there's been vandalism and all the rest of it. I mean, it didn't help the fact that all the floodlighting and all the shell got dug up and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's just, let's hope one day we get this place back, because it was a magnificent place to watch racing. And if it does come back, it may come back even better. Who knows what it will look like if it does. And so yeah, that's what I'm hoping. So that's my number 1 track of all time, Coventry Stadium, or Coventry Speedway as it's called. So yeah. So there you go. So that's it then, chaps. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a bit of a long haul. We've been almost burning the midnight oil actually to do this one, but it's been fantastic. Really enjoyed your company as always, and we'll be back for another top 10, Talking Stox top 10 in the coming weeks, and we'll see you then. So bye for now.